So welcome to the Austin Community's devotional, Sunday morning devotional gathering and fireside. We will start with devotions.
By thy grace, I am at all times
ready to serve thee,
ready to serve thee,
and am rid
of all
attachment
to
any except thee.
Good
job.
Service is the magnet which attracts the heavenly strength. Abdul-Bah. I gotta go.
All things above segalanya, dan tiada di langit maupun di bumi yang mencukupi kecuali katakanlah Tuhan mencukupi segala sesuatu di atas segalanya, dan tiada di langit maupun di bumi yang mencukupi kecuali
O thou unseen friend, O desire of all in this world and the world to come, O thou compassionate, beloved, these helpless souls are captivated by thy love, and these feeble ones seek shelter at thy feet. Every night beside and remoteness from thee, and every morning lament and weep by reason the onslaught, people of malice. They are afflicted every moment with fresh anger, and are sore tired at each breath by the tyranny of every oppressor. Praise be to thee that, notwithstanding this, they are ablaze as a temple of fire, and shine resplendent as the sun and the moon. They stand tall like upraised banners in the cause of God, and hasten like valiant horsemen into the arena. They have bloomed like sweet blossoms and are filled with joy, the laughing. Wherefore, O thou loving provider, graciously assist these holy souls by thy heavenly, which is vouchsafed in thy kingdom, and grant that these sanctified beings may manifest the signs of the Most High. Thou art the all bountiful, the pitiful, the all merciful, compassion.
One hour's reflection is preferable to set of highest portion. I think there is a echo going on. Some problem with it.
I think it's because it's not muted.
This is a blessed book, which we have revealed to you, that they might reflect upon its verses, and that of those of understanding would be reminded.
Verily, I believe.
What?
Verily, I believe.
What?
Sorry, I'm still here. Echo.
I'm not quite sure what to do about that. I've tried muting everybody, and only one person should be unmuted.
Okay.
There may be somebody devices on at the same time.
Okay, I'm gonna try. Stop. Verily, I believe. Yeah, I'm still hearing. Verily, I believe. O Mazda. Our supreme benevolent providence. When the good mind came to me and told me assuringly that a reflective, contented mind is the best possession.
He is the all glorious. Should maybe we all go after in?
Hey Laura.
Yes.
It worked when I muted my computer. I can hear I can hear you. The sound is coming back through. So just mute your computer and say the quote. I think that'll work.
I just tried something. Let's see if it's better now, friends.
Okay. He is the all-glorious. O my Lord, my King, my ruler, and my sovereign, I call upon thee with my tongue, my heart, and my soul, saying, clothe this servant of thine with the robe of thy care, the raiment of thine unfailing help, and the armor of thy protection. Assist him to make mention of thee and to extol thy virtues amidst thy people, and unloose his tongue to utter thy glorification and praise in every assemblage held to celebrate thy unity and sanctity. Thou art in truth the mighty, the powerful, the all-glorious, the self-subsisting.
Still your mind in me, still yourself in me, and without that, you shall be united with me, Lord of love, dwelling in your heart. Hindus.
Are they then not aware that they are being tested year in, year out? And yet they do not repent, and nor do they learn a lesson from it.
We are what we think. All that we are arises with our thoughts. With our thoughts, we make our world.
The source of crafts, sciences, and it goes under the pictures. I cannot. Is the power of reflection. Make ye every effort that out of this ideal meaning. Sorry, the pictures are on the letters. How should I remove them? Sorry, let me. Let me look at the views, and I put it standard view. Swap the video side by side gallery. Oh, okay. Now, the source of crafts, sciences, and arts is the power of reflection. Make ye every effort that out of this ideal mind there may gleam forth such pearls of wisdom and utterance as will promote the well-being and harmony of all the kindred of the earth. Baha'i tablets of Baha'u'llah.
O divine providence, perplexing difficulties have arisen and formidable obstacles have appeared. O Lord, remove these difficulties and show forth the evidences of thy might and power. Ease these hardships and smooth our way along this arduous path. O divine providence, the obstacles are unyielding, and our toil and hardship are conjoined with the myriad adversities. There is no helper save thee, and no succor except thyself. We set all our hopes on thee and commit all. Thou art the guide and the remover of every difficulty, and thou art the wise, the seeing, and the hearing.
O thou provider, O thou forgiver, a noble soul has ascended unto the kingdom of reality and hastened from the mortal world of dust to the realm of everlasting glory. Exalt the station of this recently arrived guest and attire this long-standing servant with a new and wondrous robe. O thou peerless Lord, grant thy forgiveness and tender care so that this soul may be admitted into the retreats of thy mysterious and mysteries and may become an intimate companion in the assemblage of the splendors. Thou art the giver, the bestower, the ever-loving. Thou art the pardoner, the tender, the most powerful. Abdul-Bah.
Friends, it is 11 o'clock, but we do want to leave some space for anyone who would wish to offer a prayer.
I would like to say, I would like to say prayer for the departed. And this is the day where my mom passed away. And then please remember her in your prayers. And I'm going to say it in my language. አቤቱ አንተ ሩህሩህ አምላክ የበረከት ሁሉ ሰጪ ጭንቅን የምታጠፋ ሆይ የሥጋ ልብስን ጥለው ወደ መንፈሳዊ ዓለም ያለፉትን ሁሉ ኃጢአት ይቅር ትላቸው ዘንድ ለምንሃለው። ጌታ ሆይ ከኃጢአት ሁሉ አንጻቸው፣ ሐዘናቸውን አስወግድላቸው፣ ጨለማውን ወደ ብርሃን ለውጥላቸው፣ ወደ ተድላ ገነት እንዲገቡ አድርጋቸው፣ በከፍተኛይቱ ተራራህ ላይ ያለውን ግርማህን እንዲያዩ አድርጋቸው፣ ፍጹም ንጹህ በሆነው ውሃ አጠባቸው፣ በከፍተኛይቱ ተራራ ላይ ያለውን ግርማህን እንዲያዩ አድርጋቸው። Baha'u'llah.
We really would like to say a prayer that she made up.
Thank you.
Can I get out of the screen first?
Okay, go ahead. But wait, sit over here so that your voice can go through.
Okay.
You can get out of the screen now.
Oh God, protect these children. Courtesy.
Oh wait, that's not the one.
Oh yeah.
This is the one that you made
Oh
up.
God, the flowers of the universe can bring together kindness, and even though some people don't notice, we notice that everything around us is beautiful and can bring us together. Thank you for the world. I need to take one more photo, please.
Well, I want to thank everybody, and especially Waverly for her prayer, and both Waverly and River for starting us out. I'd like to apologize for being a rookie host at this point and leaving the sound from the video feedback on. So that was my fault there. So friends, welcome now to we're going to transition to the fireside portion of our Sunday morning program. And I would like to reintroduce our speaker to our program. He comes to us from Suriname, South America, my home country. Jamshid Ardjomandi and his wife Soeki served at the World Center from 1997 until 2013 in various roles, including custodians of the Mansion of Baha'u'llah. Jamshid has also served as coordinator of Office of Holy Places and as a pilgrim guide. He pioneered in Suriname since 1970, where he met and married Soeki, and they have 2 sons and 5 grandchildren. Prior to Suriname, he had also pioneered in Northern Ireland for 10 years, but originally he hails from the city of Yazd in Iran. So without further ado, my dearly loved Mr. Jamshid Ardjomandi.
Hello, friends, and thank you so much, Navidan. This is a privilege again to be with you and to share some pictures and stories about the holy places. But really, what I always hope to be able to do is not just show pictures, but to take you with me and go and visit together these incredible holy places that we have at the World Center. Now, it's very important, dear friends, to realize a number of things. One is that I keep repeating that this is the shortened version. Is the real program that I put together in 2010 is more than 9 hours long, which means really I spend a lot of time on each of the holy places. In other words, if you go on a 9-day pilgrimage, then it takes you 9 days, and I have divided that into 9 hours. So, in other words, each of the holy places I should have had much more time to spend much more time on them, to really go into the history and also to go into the stories and anecdotes and what really makes the pilgrimage and visit to these holy places a unique experience for all of us. And no matter how many times you go, it is still, every time is still fresh. Every time it's new. And so I would like you that are now watching, and anyone who may be watching it on the YouTube, to please realize that this is a very short version of the program, Covenant and Holy Places, as I have called it. Now, today, last week we were at the Rizwan Garden. We had a really quick visit through the garden, and I pointed out a number of landmark features of the garden, such as, of course, the most important part is the garden itself, and the room of Baha'u'llah, in which the beloved guardian has placed some items that when Baha'u'llah went into the Rizwan Garden, used for resting and for sleeping, because he spent sometimes 1 night, sometimes 2 nights. And on one particular Rizwan period, he spent 9 days or 9 nights, as it were, in the Rizwan Garden. So we are always, when we visit any of the holy places where there's a room of Baha'u'llah, there is something that belongs to him, which the beloved guardian has placed there, so that really we can try to draw very close to the person of Baha'u'llah. And so that is what we did. And today I would like to continue taking you to the next place, which is the Mansion of Madre. I will, once again, I try my technical skills, which is always a challenge for me, but okay, this is the next place we are going to. All right, it seems that I hope you can see the picture, and then let me see if I can get my laser pointer. Yes. Okay, dear friends, now we are at the Mansion of Madre. Now, what is, it's important to realize that Rizwan Garden and Mansion of Madre are a result of that Abdul-Bah tells us in this booklet. I should have showed it to you before. You get this when you go on pilgrimage. Every pilgrim gets this booklet called Visiting Baha'i Holy Places, and in this there is so much about each of the holy places, and stories, pictures, and so on. And I use it all the time. I added my own notes, extra in pencil, so that I can share it with the pilgrims. Now, in this booklet, you will read that Abdul-Bah says he heard that one time when Baha'u'llah was in the house of Abud, he had said that it is more than 9 days he had not been to a countryside. And Abdul-Bah says then he immediately started looking for places in the country so that to which Baha'u'llah could go. And the first one was, of course, we saw Rizwan Garden, and now it's also the Mansion of Madre. And this belonged to an old sheikh that wasn't very friendly towards the faith, but Abdul-Bah, through his incredible degree of love and the manner that he had, which was absolutely peculiar and special and unique to his person, was able to convince the owner to rent this house to him. And then he says he sent people to clear the garden and fix it and arrange it, and then to build a little bathhouse for Baha'u'llah's use, and also to get a carriage made to take Baha'u'llah into to both to the Rizwan Garden and also to the Mansion of Madre. And when everything was ready, again he had a very special task to try to convince Baha'u'llah to come out of the prison city, because Baha'u'llah felt always that he is a prisoner, he doesn't have permission to leave the place. And but anyway, again, with the help of some great dignitaries of the city of Akka, a gentleman called Sheikh Ali Miri, who was very, very much dedicated and an honorable man. He was a mufti of the city of Akka, and he was a great friend of Abdul-Bah. And with his help, he was able to convince Baha'u'llah to leave the city of Akka. And Abdul-Bah says when he had the yes from Baha'u'llah, then the next day he brought the carriage, and Abdul-Bah himself drove Baha'u'llah to the Mansion of Madre. And you know, dear friends, you can. Last time we had there was a question about the question about the blue colors, but you can see there, yes, all the windows are blue except the windows of the room of Baha'u'llah here. And that's not the case in other holy places. They're always blue in other places, but really Madre seems to be a very unique, absolutely unique place, because you see other windows are also white. And this, dear friends, is the bedroom of Baha'u'llah. Now, what is peculiar about Madre is that, you know, after Baha'u'llah came out of Akka, after 9 years of being confined to that city, and Shobi Effendi says his only form of exercise and recreation was to pace his room in the house of Abu in repeated monotony. You know, and that room he's mentioning is the room of the Kitabat, which really is about 4 steps either way. And that's all. It's a small room. Those of you who have visited, you know that. And that's all he could do in Akka. And then he comes to the Mansion of Madre, which is the countryside, which has a stream flowing, and orange trees are full of oranges, and the birds are singing, and the grass is green, and everything is so beautiful, just like Baha'u'llah loves it and wanted to have. And there, for the first time, after all these years, Baha'u'llah feels that incredible freedom and joy for being in the countryside. And really, somehow, it seems that this has lingered on. And the friends, the pilgrims, when they come to the Mansion of Madre, as soon as they walk in through the gate, which is just here where this pointer is, this is the gate, you come in, some run along this path and others run along this path. And before you know it, all the pilgrims are in the garden, you know, trying to pick oranges and avocados and all of these. And it is really, it is that atmosphere of Madre that affects everyone like that. And no matter how many times you go, every time you feel it, that incredible feeling of being in the holy place, being in a place that Baha'u'llah loved, and experiencing that. Now, dear friends, as I said, I cannot go into all the details, and there's a lot of things to know, but I can take you closer to the room of Baha'u'llah. Here is the window, and on the other side there are the windows, and then you can actually see that the shelters are even white in the Mansion of Madre. So these are. This is just that Madre is a bit different from other holy places, as I keep saying, and but the wonder of it is that every holy place has something very, very peculiar, something very, very special to that place, which makes that holy place unique. You know, and you felt it in Madre, in the house of Abu, on whether you were in the house of Uri Khamar, or whether you moved into the side of the house that belonged to the house of Abu, or the Rizwan Garden, and now in Madre. Every one of them has its own very, very particular feeling and joy, and of course in the prison was the sorrow that overwhelms you when you go into the prison and the house of Abu. Now we are going to go further. We are coming inside the house, and you know, I should add that this hall with its all the beauty and the chairs and all the pictures and the drapery and so on, that didn't exist in the time of Baha'u'llah. This was the garden. You know, that house finished here. And here are the steps that went upstairs to his room, and this was part of the garden. And later on, you know, when Abdul-Bah returned this house to the owners, and it fell from one hand to another, to another, to another, over a period of time, until the beloved guardian was able to get, and is a telegram of the beloved guardian in the same booklet, in which he says that today I got the key of the Madre from Israeli authorities, and I'm preparing it for pilgrimage. So until that time in 1940s and there later, that this mansion came back into the hand of the faith, and then it had this hall already. So the beloved guardian furnished, and then you come in here, you leave your bags and shoes here, and you go into this room, and then this room is like this. And then inside you sit on these couches, which are known as the mandars, and they were already there because this is the same room that Baha'u'llah used to receive the pilgrims in when they came. And you know, sometimes we read from memoirs of many of those who were present at that time that there were more than 200 in some days, 200 pilgrims waiting in Madre, in the village of Madre, in the caravanserai before, in front of the mansion of Madre, waiting for their turn to go to the presence of their beloved. And when they got the permission, they would come and attain the presence of Baha'u'llah in this room. And of course, we go, and as pilgrims, you sit here, and as guide, we come and talk your head off and tell you about the history and anecdotes, and then singing and prayers. And it is really, I tell you, Mansion of Madre, I keep repeating, is something out of the ordinary. It's something way beyond our imagination of what is happiness and what is joy. And the beloved guardian has furnished it. And this is another place, actually, where the beloved Abdul-Bah Ruya Khanum has added a couple of things to this room. And I don't have a picture of it because it's right behind the chairs. And I leave it to you so that when you go on pilgrimage next time, hopefully in October, when the doors of pilgrimage open again, and then you have a chance to go to pilgrimage, and you can look for it and see what is it that is so new in this holy place, which you won't see it in the other old holy places. And by old, I mean holy places of the time of Baha'u'llah. Now, dear friends, as I said, I am not going to go into detail because there's too much. And then here, dear friends, then after prayers, after stories, after anecdotes and singing songs and so on, you come to the foot of the steps. And dearly beloved ones, these are the steps that we climb with all our hearts and souls. To go into the upper part, where the bedroom of Baha'u'llah is. And it doesn't matter how many times you come here. It is always so powerful. Even looking at it now, I can remember that every time I took the pilgrim, and I used to take pilgrims almost every other 2 weeks to this holy place and other holy places, that it never lost its power. You know, dear friends, many of these stones are original. This is the stairs that Baha'u'llah climbed to go into his room. And we as pilgrims have the privilege and the bounty of actually climbing the same steps that our Lord climbed to go up. And then you go to the left, is the door, and you come into a little hall, and then as soon as you're in the hall and you look in front of you, is the door to the bedroom of Baha'u'llah. You can almost see, you know, you can imagine what you're going to experience right at the moment you step inside the hall. And in this little hall, I might add, the beloved guardian has placed maps and maps and maps, because he loved maps of the progress of the faith of God up to that time, and where the pioneers had settled, and where the different centers of the faith had opened, and so much more. And then you go in to the room of Baha'u'llah. Dear friends, it's a small room. This room is so small, it's unbelievable. But unlike the room in Akka, it was also small, but it was oppressive because of the atmosphere of the place. And then the thought of the sufferings of Baha'u'llah in the house of Abu, it just breaks your heart. And then you come here. It's a tiny little bedroom, but there is sunshine. There is fresh air. There is bird songs in this room. And then there is the Taj of Baha'u'llah sitting on a tiny little bed. You know, it's a small bed, but it's not a bed of Baha'u'llah. Please understand that. This is not the bed that Baha'u'llah slept on it. So if any placed it there just to put the Taj on it. And because it was a bedroom, the Taj of Baha'u'llah, as soon as you go in, it just... And then at the foot of the bed, for the first time, you see the shoes of Baha'u'llah. And as you prostrate there in prayers and meditations, this is a place you just don't want to get up. You just don't want to leave. You feel, I belong here. I've come home. I am home. Let me stay. Let me be here. And dear friends, it goes. But you know, as always, we have a short time to visit these holy places, and also now we have a short time. And then, of course, you have to come down, and then you know that you have the whole of the garden to visit, and because the garden is also a place Baha'u'llah walked, he enjoyed it. The stream that is flowing in front, and there is a pool of water, because really I like to point out that pool is like a reservoir to collect enough water so that they put the plug and the water would flow into the garden and irrigate the place, because the stream was a tiny little stream in those days. And so it is, and you can see, and you can partake of the oranges and avocados, and at the time of pomegranates, you can eat the pomegranates, and that's Madre. Madre. It's incredible Madre, and there's thousands of stories, and all of them joyous. And you know, dear friends, every pilgrim who has come here at the time of Baha'u'llah and has left their own memoirs there's something beautiful. There's an anecdote. There is something that is very dear to the heart of that person who is writing it. And it is, oh, there are so many stories. Oh, so many stories. And you know, there is no time to tell it all, but I assure you, one day I hope we will have time and we will be having more time to spend and to share the anecdotes and feel that we belong to this place. Dear friends, you know, near Madre, there were other gardens that Baha'u'llah used to visit. And then one of them was known as the Garden of Afif, you see. And the Garden of Afif now, it doesn't exist anymore. But what we have is a picture of it. A picture of it, and you can, I put the picture in here just so that you can see what these dear gardeners did to prepare this. You see, dear friend, these gardens and this thing, like what you see, the arbor and the bench in the middle of the stream and all this stonework for walking on and arranging everything, they didn't come into existence because somebody clapped their hands or waved the magic wand. No, dear friend, this is a labor of love from the lovers of Baha'u'llah who would prepare these gardens and the surroundings for the joy of their beloved. And this is another one of those places. It doesn't exist anymore because the whole area has changed and doesn't, but this one does. This garden does exist, and that is the Garden of Junaid, which is also near Rizwan, near Madre. It's all of these are in walking distance of the Mansion of Madre. And this is, for a long time, this was also not a property of the faith. And it took many years of hard work and court cases heartbreaks, if you like, you know, on part of the House of Justice and those who were responsible for fighting to get these properties back into the bosom of the faith. And eventually they did it, as it always happens. And when it was eventually purchased again and became a property of the faith, and the whole work of clearing the mess and deciding what was the original building, it took again years because they had built all kinds of shacks and buildings and structures all around this original building. And many months and years of research in the public archives of Israeli government and other instances had to go into this to find old pictures and old descriptions to be able to really decide what was from the time of Baha'u'llah and what had been added to it. I'm just saying this, that dear friends, you know, before the House of Justice makes a place available as a place for visiting for the pilgrims, years and years of work goes into it because the house wants everything to be done exactly correctly. They will never allow us to think that this was when it wasn't. And so, dear friend, this is the Junaid Garden, and Baha'u'llah used to come here also for some weekends. And there's a room of Baha'u'llah that you can go and visit. I can only show it to you from outside. I don't want to show everything because then you go there and say, oh, I've seen these all before. But I just want it to be, it should be a surprise. But what is another thing that is very, very unique to this building and the garden is that it is different. It's again different from all the other places. The garden is not arranged the way we are used to seeing gardens in Baha'i and Haifa, with geometrical stars and borders and things like that. It's just this natural, it's beautiful, it's just different. It's a countryside, is where Baha'u'llah again used to be in the countryside. There used to be an orange orchard nearby, but now the House of Justice has arranged it like this, and you can go on a Saturday afternoon. It's not part this garden is not really part of the program of pilgrimage, but on a Saturday afternoon when you don't have a formal program, and you can come to Bahji, and there are shuruts there standing outside, and all you have to do is to go and sit in it and say, "Take me to Junaid Garden." They know it. The shurut drivers have taken thousands of pilgrims to this garden and to the house here, and they know exactly where to take you. They wait for you. When you visited the room of Baha'u'llah and the garden, then bring you back to Bahji, and you continue your visit to the shrine and to the mansion. Saturday, the pilgrimage Saturday, the mansion is open. I will talk about that when we come to the mansion, which will be in the next few minutes, actually, because from here, dear friends, now we are finished in the area of Madre, and we are going to the Mansion of Baha'u'llah. We are back in the area of Baha'u'llah. We are really, as when you are on pilgrimage, of course, you will have been here before you go to the mansion of, to the Junaid Garden, and so this mansion is absolutely different from all the other places we have seen. And for one thing, it is the biggest place where Baha'u'llah stayed. It had many rooms. Upstairs there are 19 rooms. I tell you because my beloved wife and I, we were the custodians of the mansion for many years. I miss the mansion. It is a place where Baha'u'llah stayed longer than any other place in either Akka or Baha'u'llah or Madre. Baha'u'llah spent the last 13 years of his life in this mansion. He loved the mansion so much that he has given it very special names or titles. He called this mansion the Lofty Mansion. He called it the spot which God hath ordained as the most sublime vision of mankind. This mansion, God has ordained it as the most sublime vision of mankind. Baha'u'llah called it the seat of the throne of God during his dispensation. Abdul-Bah says, in this place, the door of power and great glory were flung open to the face of Baha'u'llah. You know, dear friends, even to think, let me tell you a little bit about who built the building, you know, because it's so important to know that also, because, you know, this man, Udi Khammar, he had been inspired in the first place to rent his house in Akka to Abdul-Bah so Baha'u'llah could live in it. And then it is in his house that the Kitab al-Aqdas is revealed. House of Udi Khammar. And then Udi Khammar, you know, this what happened was that this property, this original property, which is right here underneath this superstructure, this structure on top. Underneath that, there are 6 or 7 ordinary rooms, which were built by the original owner, which was Abdul-Bah Pasha, the governor of Akka, for his mother, who used to come here for summer, so that she could come out of Akka during the summer months. Udi Hamar bought this property from him and the land around it. And then he built this mansion on top of that old property. Shoeveni tells us, Udi Hamar lavished so much wealth on creating this mansion. And what is remarkable is that, the entrance to the mansion is round the corner. You see, here's the building ends. We used to come in through this door, but not anymore. I'll show you the other door, the main door now we use. You come in here behind this, and then there's a flight of stairs that takes you up. Right above the flight of stairs, Udi Hamar was inspired to put a marble tablet with an inscription on it, which says, and I quote, "Greetings and salutations rest upon the mansion, which increased in splendor through the passage of time. Manifold marvels and wonders are found therein, and pens are unable to try to describe it." He put that on top of the entrance door of the mansion. He was a merchant, but he was inspired to put that there, not knowing really why. It sounded right. And he only spent a short time living in this house, because shortly after he occupied the place, around the 1878, 1879, there was an outbreak of cholera, a plague, and many people died.
Where's Dr. Soeki?
Many people left the area of Akka and surrounding. And this mansion, and actually, Udi Hamar died himself. And the mansion was empty. Abdul-Bah was looking for a bigger place, because Madre was already too small, with many pilgrims coming, and there was not enough space for them to come to the presence of Baha'u'llah. So he was looking for a bigger place, and this place was empty. He was able to rent it. And of course, there had to be some work done on it, but then it was ready, and Baha'u'llah was able to move his residence from Akka, and really from Madre, because when he was in Madre, Asiya Khanum and the greatest holy Munira Khanum and Abdul-Bah and so on, they used to live in Akka, so he used to come back to Akka quite regularly. And then so actually it was from Akka that he moved into this mansion of Baha'is. Dear friends, I actually need one whole day to be able to do justice to the events that took place in the mansion during the time of Abdul-Bah and after his ascension, and then after that. I need a whole day. But seeing that I don't have that amount of time, I have to skim over quite a lot of details and then tell you that, okay, there's Baha'u'llah lived here, and then this was a glorious time. And during his lifetime, the pilgrims even that came to this place were very, very special, very distinguished people, like the Afghans, the family of the Bah, who came here and spent time living in there were houses along the mansion, next to the mansion, and they were spending time. And then also, the one and only Western person who ever attained the presence of Allah was Professor Edward Granville Brown of Cambridge, and he attained the presence of Allah in this mansion, in the room of Allah. Now, the story of when he came, how long he had to wait, because Baha'u'llah at that time was in Haifa. And that was after he moved into the house of Abu and to Madre, he had freedom to move about and to go to Haifa sometimes. And he went 4 times visiting Haifa, and every time he stayed sometimes there. And this time also, he was in Haifa when Brown came to this mansion, waiting to visit him. So he had to wait a number of days. And eventually, when Baha'u'llah arrived back and he was given permission to attain his presence, Professor Brown described that event. He writes about it in a language of such beauty that Shoghi Effendi has quoted him over and over again in various books. And not only that, but he has actually copied and framed that statement of Brown, and it is hanging on the left-hand side of the door leading into the bedroom of Baha'u'llah, this room here. And dear friends, we know from the historical documents and the Baha'i authors that the believers couldn't look into the face of Baha'u'llah. They tried and they didn't succeed, really. And Baha'u'llah was so gracious that sometimes he would turn his face so that they could get a view of the side of his face. And here we have Brown has been, and that's my personal feeling, he has been allowed by Baha'u'llah to see him, to see all the details, and then to describe it for posterity. Shoghi Effendi says that what the Brown has written is the best penned portrait of Baha'u'llah. I will try to quote some of it. And first of all, he describes how he came, and then the guy took him to the door of the room and opened the curtain, and he took his shoes off and he went inside. And then when he got inside, he said, a moment or two elapsed, ere with a throb of wonder and awe, I became definitely conscious that the room was not untenanted. It took him a few minutes to realize there was somebody in the room. And then he says, in the corner where the divan met the wall sat a wondrous and venerable figure, crowned in a headdress of a kind called Taj by the dervishes, but of an unusual height and make, round the base of which was bound a small white turban. Dear friends, look at the details that he's been allowed to see. And then now, this is the significant, really the significant part is that it is the face of him on whom I gazed. I can never describe, though I cannot forget it. Those piercing eyes seem to read one's very soul. Power and authority sat on that ample brow, while the deep lines on his forehead and face implied an age which the jet black hair and beard, growing down in indistinguishable luxuriance almost to the waist, seemed to be lying. He goes on and says, no need to ask in whose presence I stood, as I bowed myself before one who is the object of a devotion and love, which kings might envy and emperors sigh for in vain.
Where's Tanta Suki?
And then he goes on to say, a mild, dignified voice bade me be seated. And then he continued, praise be to God that thou hast come to see a prisoner and an exile. It's a long piece, dear friend, but I just wanted you to get the impression of what really Brown experienced and saw when he entered the presence of Allah. Now, dear friends, there's so much more to say, to know, and I have a feeling that I don't have much time. And then I have to talk about, the Ascension, because these were the glorious times of when, during the lifetime of Baha'u'llah, was the glorious time of the mansion that was receiving, of course, the Lord of hosts in its own bosom, and it was the home of Baha'u'llah, was the seat of the throne of God. It was the lofty mansion, and then the Ascension took place. And then things started to happen after the Ascension. Dear friends, it is here in the Ascension, in the mansion, where the Kitab al-Ahdi was opened and read to 9 members of the family and some pilgrims. The Kitab al-Ahdi had been given to Abdul-Bah days before the actual Ascension took place. I want to go into detail of all that, but there's no time. But the Kitab al-Ahdi was read, and everybody discovered what was in it. The content was simply that the Baha'is have to turn to Abdul-Bah as the center of the covenant and obey him. And that after him will be Mirza Muhammad Ali. That is the gist of it. But then those who were faithful to and the same afternoon, that same document was read in the shrine of Baha'u'llah, the room that Abdul-Bah had selected to place the holy remains of Baha'u'llah in the bosom of the earth. That is the shrine. And there, the same document was read to a larger group of family members and pilgrims, and everybody knew what was in it. They examined the signature, they examined the document. There was no doubt about its authenticity. The message was simple, was clear. But right away, some of the family members began showing their true color. And the sign of defection was already evident in their behavior. And it is from that time, that Abdul-Bah, not wanting to create disunity in the family, left the mansion of Baha'u'llah and went back to Akka, to the house of Abu, and never came back. And dear friends, the covenant breakers, that as they were known, they broke the covenant of Baha'u'llah. They remained in the mansion for more than 30 years. And during that time, all they did their best to destroy Abdul-Bah, destroy the covenant, destroy the faith of Baha'u'llah, and destroy the Mansion of Baha'u'llah. This is the physical manifestation of the total lack of respect and love and absolute negligence that was manifesting itself in the life of the covenant breakers after Baha'u'llah. Their animosity to Abdul-Bah was unbelievable. They tried everything to destroy him, and with him the cause of God. And of course, we know that they failed, but its effect was incredibly horrible. But Abdul-Bah says it retarded, it delayed the progress of the cause of God. Otherwise, the faith would have conquered the world like the rays of sunshine. Dear friends, the mansion was in such a poor state that they couldn't live in it anymore. And they sent, well, in the meantime, Abdul-Bah passed away, and Soeki Effendi was the guardian of the cause of God. And they sent a message to the guardian to come and repair this building. And the guardian says, I cannot repair it as long as you people live in it. So you leave, and then I can repair it. And they left thinking that after Soeki Effendi repaired the mansion, they can come back to it. And even when they were away from here, they continued their opposition to the covenant and against Soeki Effendi. The covenant breakers never ceased their activities. When we go to the house of Abdullah Pasha, I will concentrate more on that, but I don't think it will be today. So Soeki Effendi, after these people had left, came into this building, and for 2 years, using the best man and material available to him, repaired, restored, and brought the mansion back to life and gave this mansion back to the Baha'is of the world and these gardens. Dear friends, you know, I like to point out one thing. You know, to restore a building, anybody can do that. There are specialized people who are great in restoring buildings and renovating buildings and bringing back to the original shape and so on. But you know, dear friend, what Soeki Effendi did was not just restoring the physical. Soeki Effendi, one of the titles that Abdul-Bah gave to Soeki Effendi is the sign of God on earth. It is only the sign of God on earth that could have restored this mansion spiritually also. That is why, dear friends, now when you and I as pilgrims go and sit in this room, which is the room of Baha'u'llah, and these are the windows, we can feel the presence of our beloved. When the covenant breakers were forced to leave because the building was falling on their heads, they took everything away from the mansion, everything. Things that belonged to Baha'u'llah, the bed in which his ascension took place. When Soeki Effendi restored and repaired and brought the mansion back to life as we see it now, he had to, and he, of course, you know, and the dear friends from Persia sent carpets, and Soeki Effendi was able to furnish and put the carpets in the room so that as pilgrims you can sit on carpets rather than bare floor. Soeki Effendi also brought from other holy places holy relics and items, bedding of Baha'u'llah. his Taj, his shoes. And until a couple of years after we became custodians of this mansion, there were other bundles with the clothing of Baha'u'llah. His cloak, a silk and a woolen one, and a sheepskin coat that he used to wear during the winter. All of these things were here, but they had to be taken into the archive because the climate is harsh and was destroying him. But still, the Universal House of Justice graciously left the mattress, the shoes, and the Taj of Baha'u'llah for us as pilgrims to be able to come and kneel next to them and pray and draw closer to our beloved. Dear friends, there's one item in this room that you haven't seen yet or before, and these are that as pilgrims, we will see the pillows of Baha'u'llah for the first time. They are on the bed, on the mattress on which Baha'u'llah used to sleep. Dear friends, when this is the night of the Ascension, I hope, please, Nabil, allow me a few minutes to finish this part. You know,
please feel free to keep going for a while. Yes.
The night of the Ascension, dear friends, the mansion is lit in a very special way. The room of Baha'u'llah is lit with 2 oil lamps and 1 candle, just like it used to be in his time. And the rest of the rooms are in darkness. Outside, on the balcony, these special lights create a tremendous atmosphere of gentleness, of peace, and an atmosphere for just to be there and to be just to be there. And all the friends who are at the World Center, pilgrims, staff members, 3-day visitors, their family and friends, and some very special dignitaries of Israel, they come to visit the Mansion of Baha'u'llah and the room of Baha'u'llah. The first group that comes are mothers and children and their the parents and their small children. And then group by group by group, every half hour, 50, 60 of the believers come and go into the room and spend a half hour praying and meditating and prostrating themselves next to the bed, the Taj and the shoes of Baha'u'llah. And then they come out through this door here and walk on the balcony, go around the back to where his room is. You see, if you look good, you can see these are pilgrims. And then you come and stand here and you face the shrine, which is lit up. Honestly, dear friend, this night, to me, is the most important night of the year. It's incredible. There are thousands of more people in the gardens. You can hear a pin drop. All you hear is the sound of the gravel underfoot. Nobody talks. Nobody wants to talk. Everybody wants to be alone in their heart and soul with their beloved. It is so intense that I always felt, my God, if I reach up, I can touch the concourse on high, who are circumambulating according to the Tablet of Carmel and according to the beloved guardian, they are circumambulating the shrine and the mansion all time. And everybody goes in, and after that, dear friend, they come and sit around the Haram Aqdas, facing the shrine to commemorate, to remember, to pray. And then after the prayers, after the tablet of visitation is said, everybody circumambulates the shrine. All the way around, you walk, and then you come out into this path, and you go to the Collins Gate. And you leave. And by that time, the morning is broken. You can almost see everything now. The birds are singing. The feeling is unbelievable, indescribable. I hope every one of you has an opportunity at least once to be there on the night of the Ascension of Baha'u'llah. Beloved friend, this is the entrance to the shrine of Baha'u'llah. This is the mansion, and this is the shrine of Baha'u'llah. You see how close they are to each other. And this is, of course, the entrance during the daytime. I just wanted to show you, dear friends, if you have not been there before, there are 5 steps that you climb, and you open the door, you push the door yourself, and you go into a space which is the closest thing to heaven on earth. The closest place where an ordinary human being like me can grow close to the manifestation of God, the physical manifestation. This is the room which Abdul-Bah selected to place the holy remains of Baha'u'llah in the heart of the Mother Earth. This is the holiest spot on planet Earth for us and for the people of the world. This is the room to which we turn when we say our obligatory prayers every day. And this is the gate that separates the inner garden of the shrine from the rest of the Baha'i garden. The beloved guardian created the first quarter of this garden, which starts from here, goes around the quarter of a circle and comes back to the shrine. And he called it the Haram Aqdas, which means the holy sanctuary, the holy precincts. He described it as being so close to the shrine that it is as though we are in the shrine. And as pilgrims, once you enter this gate, you feel the intensity of the spiritual forces. Dear friends, I am grateful to you for having given me the opportunity to be with you and to share all of these. And unfortunately, I cannot take you to Akka and Haifa, but maybe at another time, local assembly will arrange other programs for us to visit the house of Abdullah Pasha and share all the things that happened there, and then go to Haifa and Mount Carmel and the house of the Master in Haifa and all that happened there. We will share it some other time. Thank you. Have a wonderful remaining days of fast, and of course, happy Nowruz to everybody. Thank you.
So thank you. Thank you so much. You all will notice that I refer to Mr. Ardjomandi as Oom Jamshid. Oom is the Dutch word for uncle. So I would like to thank my uncle Jamshid for his great efforts. Not as he mentioned at the beginning, but I'm not sure everyone really is able to catch this, but from his days of being a pilgrim guide, in which 9 days of pilgrimage, he tried to condense these 9 days into 9 hours. And he did this for the benefit of Baha'is who have not been able to go on pilgrimage, or for those who may have and may needed to be reminded of the things there, and has really taken this at the invitation of places as far-flung as India and Sri Lanka, Europe, and then more recently, I think, over video, places like Uzbekistan and Canada. But this is essentially a 9-hour presentation, and given the confined time frame of our Sunday morning program here in Austin, he went out of his way to abbreviate this even further for us, and over 3 hours has been able to get us through Baha'u'llah and the Holy Family's time in Akka. Not only the prison, eventual release from prison, but still house arrest, confined in the prison city of Akka. Today, we heard about his final ability to depart that prison city and be able to go to the countryside where he could see greenery in Madre and Baha'i. But as my uncle Jamshid said, there's more to be said, and we will try to schedule additional sessions at another time. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. We're very grateful for not only the fact that you took time to do this for us, but that you went through all the extra effort to condense it even further to benefit us. Thank you so much. I would like to ask if there's any questions.
For the wonderful presentation, took us back to the Holy Land. Of Baha'u'llah was purchased.
Sorry, Arastu, could you ask your question again? I don't think it all came through.
When was the Mansion of Baha'u'llah purchased? Was it during the time of Abdul-Bah or during the time of Shoghi Effendi?
Actually, Abdul-Bah had it rented and was purchased gradually. But then during the time of the covenant breakers, they sold half of the mansion.
Wow.
And with that money, they bribed the authorities in Turkey, in Constantinople, to rise up against Abdul-Bah and to create problems for the master. And that's why they sent a commission of inquirer to investigate the works of Abdul-Bah. And so they were constantly short of money, so they sold the mansion, most of it.
Wow.
And they sold it to the greatest enemies of the faith. And of course, with that money, they bribed the authorities. But then when Shoghi Effendi became the guardian, and he was able to get the keys of the mansion and to start to repair and renovation, and he discovered what has happened, he had to repurchase the mansion again. And it took a lot of doing and a great deal of problems. But, we know that when the beloved guardian decided to do something, he is the sign of God on earth. It will be done. So he did it. And so he really repurchased the parts that had already been sold.
Thank you.
Friends, any other questions about the presentation, please?
I had a question. I understand, of course, not through any authoritative writings or verifiable comments, or that the shrine that of Baha'u'llah, there's going to be another building, or it's going to be built over where Baha'u'llah is buried, and the Mansion of Baha'u'llah are going to go under the same structure. Of course, that's not valid, but I'm wondering if you have any comments on that.
The answer to it is yes, there will be a building built on it. Nobody knows how or what it will look like. But in the book called Soeki Effendi by Dr. Hand of the Cause of God, Dr. Giuccheri, he tells us that the beloved guardian instructed him to look for building material, in this case, special type marble that Soeki Effendi had in mind, for that particular, for the building or superstructure over the shrine of Baha'u'llah. And Dr. Giuccheri says he was busy trying to find that, what the beloved guardian had asked. And soon after that, he got another telegram saying, stop, now is not the time, the future will decide what to be done. I am, of course, paraphrasing from what Dr. Giuccheri has written, but it is in that book. And that is the only place I have read, but I have heard it, just like you have heard, from many people, and some of them, let's say, friends who I consider as very well informed individuals, such as members of the House of Justice. And that will be done in the future. When, that is the decision of the House of Justice. What it will look like is a decision of the House of Justice. There is no sketch, as far as I know, or anything else, other than what I just mentioned.
Thank you.
Question on where the shrine of Abdul-Bah is going to be located. I don't know that. Or is located.
Sorry, I have problem with hearing. Nabil, what was the question again?
Oh, the question Mersha asked was, where will the location of the shrine of Abdul-Bah be?
Oh, that's already decided, and they are building it. It is going to be next to the Rizwan Garden. You know, when you enter the Rizwan Garden, the bus stops on the street, and you enter a gate, and on the left-hand side is the Rizwan Garden. On the right-hand side, there are two gardens. It's called Ali Ashraf and Garden of Firdaus. It is in that area which they are busy building the shrine of Abdul-Bah.
So if I were to try and orient myself right now, Abdul-Bah's remains are in the same structure as the shrine of the Bab, in a separate room in Haifa, but it's going to be in more closer to Akka and Haifa now.
Yes. That's the decision of the House of Justice. And I may add, these are when I was describing the Junaid Garden, and I said how long the House of Justice took to really make a decision about, yes, this is going to be it, and this is what is going to remain, and all the others are going to be bulldozed. And for months, we were taking out rubbish in the form of old structures and additional structures that had been built around that original building. And then the house decided, okay, now this is it. This is what we are going to keep, and all the others are going to go. So in other words, what I'm trying to say is that the decision of the house is based on a lot of research, a lot of inquiries, not only in the Baha'i archives, but also in other archives relevant to what we have to know. And when they finally have gathered all these material together, they study it, and then they make the final decision. So it takes years. So what I'm saying is that the decision of the house to have it in there next to Rizwan Garden is based on a lot of study, research.
Thank you. I think my father has his mic unmuted. If there's any more questions, and then we'll end the stream at least, and the live stream, and we can talk more informally after.
I do have a comment. I understood, I don't know if it's correct or not, the distance between the shrine of Abdul-Bah and to Baha'u'llah and to the resting place of the Bab is going to be almost the same distance. Is it in the middle way? Is that so?
If I remember correctly, from Haifa to Rizwan Garden, from Haifa to Rizwan Garden is about 20-25 kilometers. And from Rizwan Garden to Baha'i is about 7 or 8 kilometers. In fact, you can walk from Rizwan Garden to Baha'i quite easily. And personally, I've done it a number of times, but I cannot walk from Haifa to Rizwan Garden.
I see.
I know some youth do it. They have done it. I've seen them. I mean, there's at least once a year that a bunch of youth get together and do the distance of Haifa and Baha'i. Actually, they go to Baha'i or they go to Akka. But that's about 20-22 kilometers.
I see. Thank you. Thank you, Jamshid. Thank you.
And thank you, friends. I'm going to end the live stream now, and we will continue just chatting informally.
But can I say something to Jamshid now?